أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله.
طيب بسم الله والحمد لله والصلاة والسلام على رسول الله وعلى آله وصحبه ومن والاه أما بعد. We continue with the chapter of food, which we got through half of last week, and inshallah Azza wa Jal today we'll finish. From the main things, just to quickly summarize, is that everything from that which is other than animals, the general rule is that it's halal until proven haram, and you will have things that are najis, things that are impure, things that are very harmful like poisons. These are obviously not allowed. Today inshallah Azza wa Jal will speak about that which came from animals, and we spoke about that which has alcohol in it. Don't ask me any questions about it today, Jazakumullah khairan, because we went for a lot of it last week. And if you're really keen, you'll go back and you'll watch it, inshallah. Today, inshallah Azza wa Jal, we continue. And he says, rahimahullah, this is regarding animals now, فصل والحيوان قسمان بحري وبري فأما البحري فكله حلال إلا الحية والضفدع والتمساح. Subsection: animals are of two types, sea animals and land animals. As for the sea animals, then they are all permissible to consume except for the snake, frog and crocodile. We begin with that which is from the ocean, al-bahri. This is that which lives all of its life in the ocean. Okay, sharks, whales, fish, what else can you think? Octopus. Okay, its life is in the ocean, meaning if it was to live or to go outside of the ocean or the water, it would die. Okay, this is what he's talking about here when it talks about sea animals, and all of this is halal. All of this is halal. Jayyid, whether it's a shark, whether it's a fish, whether it's a whale, all of it is halal, and this is a type of maita that is halal. What did we say maita was last week?
You can't eat haram.
Not the ruling. What is it? What's maita?
Killed itself by itself.
What's that?
That it wasn't killed Islamic.
Good. An animal that you can eat, but it's not slaughtered Islamically. So, for example, a goat or a sheep or a cow, but it wasn't slaughtered in the Islamic fashion. Its meat is called maita. It's that which is dead, and you're not allowed to eat it. It's impure. Regarding the maita of the ocean, all of it is halal. Why? Because there's nothing for you to slaughter. They don't have the same windpipes and the chuqiyas and these types of things that you have when you slaughter a normal animal like a cow or a goat or a sheep or a camel, etc. They don't have the same. So you don't, when it comes out of the ocean, have to slaughter it. Now, so if it dies by itself, it is halal. Now, and this is a question some brothers ask when they fish. For example, they catch the fish and it's still alive when they bring it up. Now, do we have to slit its throat? Man, it doesn't have that throat for you to slit in the first place. Now, so if it was to be left in the bucket or killed in another way, then this is allowed to be eaten. It doesn't have to be slaughtered Islamically, because there is no slaughtering of it. You have al-barma'i, okay, the amphibians. This is not talking about here. Even some of the examples that he gives, these are amphibians. Okay, the barma'i, that which lives in the water and lives, so like a crocodile, like a frog, like some snakes, okay, like turtles. These have their own separate ruling. What we're talking about regarding things from the water is that which lives its entire life in the water. If it was to be out of the water, it would die. Very common question regarding some seafood, like prawns and crabs and lobster and the like. In the Hanafi madhab, this is not allowed. In the Hanafi madhab, these things are not allowed. Why? Because they say that these are not tayyib. So Allah tells us to eat halal and tayyiba. Halal and tayyib. So they say yes, they may be halal because they're from the ocean, but they're not tayyib. They're not that high level of purity. Why? Because they are a lot of the filth in the ocean. Naam. But the stronger opinion is that all of it is halal. All of it is halal because of the generality of the hadith that which is from the ocean is allowed. He gives some examples for kullu halal illa al-hayya wal-difda' wal-timsah, except for the snake, the frog and the crocodile. These are again not sea animals in and of themselves, in terms of the fact that they live their entire lives in the sea, and they have other things that make it haram also. And we'll speak about some of them inshallah. طيب فأما البر فيحرم منه. As for the land animals, what's haram from it? 4 major categories. Number 1, كل ذي ناب من السباع. All fanged predatory animals. All of the animals which have fangs that are predatory. They go and they attack other animals like lions, cheetahs, tigers, dogs, etc. There's only one exception which we'll get, and that's the hyena. Okay, this is an exception which we'll speak about at then inshallah azza wa jal. So any animal which is a land animal but it has fangs and it attacks another animal, then this is something that we are not allowed to eat. Okay? Number 2, وَكُلُّ ذِي مِخْلَبٍ مِنَ الطَّيْرِ. And all clawed birds. Yani birds that attack and they hunt with their claws. Like eagles, for example. Okay, we're not allowed to eat them. Even though they're birds, but they're not birds that we are allowed to eat. وَالْحُمُرْ الْأَهْلِيَّةِ وَالْبِغَالِ. And domestic donkeys, yani your normal donkeys. When you say al-humur al-ahliyya, some people think like domesticated donkeys. So if you have a donkey that's in the wild, it's allowed to be eaten. No. Al-humur al-wahshiyya in the Arabic language translates to what in English? Zebra. Okay, the zebras you are allowed to eat. As for the normal donkey, some people are thinking, can I eat myself? No, not what your dad used to call you, Habibi. We're talking about the actual animal that you ride. Na'am. These donkeys that you know, they are not allowed to be eaten. Don't get confused by the word domestic. طيب. والبغال, the mules. What's a bagal? Again, not that which your dad used to call you. What's a bagal?
Between horse and the donkey.
Who's the dad and who's the mom?
The horse is his mom.
Good. The bagal is a mix between a donkey and a horse. Okay, the dad is the donkey and the mom is the horse. Okay, and then you have a bagal. Sah. Now, these mules are very good, and they're very good because donkeys are very good at carrying a lot of weight and putting up with a lot of hardship. And horses are very good, obviously, with their power and their strength and their endurance and the like. So the mules, they're very good for people that live in like mountainous regions, and they carry a lot of stuff like a means of transport up and down. Mules are better usually than horses for it, and obviously donkeys. Now, so there is a purpose for a bagal. So even if you've been caught a bagal, there's some light at the end of the tunnel for you. Now, one beautiful statement. It's not so much now for us in Australia, but to show you how important people take their lineage, who their forefathers are, etc. What their last name is, who they're from, what their reputation is. A beautiful statement in Arabic. سئل البغل من أبوك فقال خالي الفرس. Okay, the baghal was asked, who's your dad? And people want to know who you are, what family you're from. He said, my uncle, the uncle from my mother's side is, the horse. He doesn't want to say, I'm the baghal and my dad's the jahash. It's not nice. Now, so the matter of reputation is one that is very important in most cultures. Now, in a lot of Western cultures, this matter, unfortunately, because of a lack of haya, it's really, really, really dropped. Now, but this is something very important with people with honor. It's not a means of pride. It's not a means of pride, but it's a means of goodness in general. So the third is domesticated donkeys and mules. You are not allowed to eat them. Obviously, the mule part because it comes from the donkey. Number 4, وَمَا يَأْكُلُ الْجِيَفْ مِنَ الطَّيْرِ كَالنُّسُورِ وَالرَّخِمِ وَغُرَابِ الْبَيِّنِ وَالْأَبْيَعِ. Al-bayn, Allahu alam if that's the correct. Al-bayn wal-abqa. Scavenger birds, so the birds that eat the carcasses of other animals. Scavenger birds such as eagles, vultures, pied crows, and the like. These are also not allowed to be eaten. So these 4 categories again: all fanged predatory beasts, all clawed birds, domestic donkeys and mules, and scavenger birds such as eagles and the like. طيب. Is this the only thing not allowed to be eaten? No. There's also number 5. And this is again a very broad category. وَمَا يَسْتَخْبِثُ or it should be وَمَا يُسْتَخْبَثُ مِنَ الْحَشَرَاتِ. Okay, that which is unwholesome or it is something repulsive from the animals كالفأر ونحوها إلا اليربوع والضب لأنه أكل على مائدة رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم وهو ينظر وقيل له أحرام هو قال لا وما عدا هذا فهو مباح. And that which is unwholesome or repulsive. طيب, unwholesome or repulsive according to who? This is where there is a matter of difference of opinion. If there is something that you say this is like disgusting, like now in Australia we don't eat snails. Okay, we don't eat snails. But if you go to France and you say here, you want to eat a snail, they'll be like, ooh, oui, oui. They get excited. Is it allowed for them to eat snails and us not to eat snails? Okay, they say this goes back to the time of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. The dhabit for this, the guardian for this is, at the time of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, what was the norm at that time? Naam, that which is repulsive to the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam and his people. That which is unacceptable to the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam and his people. Okay, some of the other ulama, they said no, it is allowed, yani whatever the people have, as long as it doesn't fall under another category which the Prophet ﷺ himself made unallowed. They said no, the matter is open because things are halal until proven haram. And they said there's nothing here that says that it's haram. So you have two major opinions. The majority of ulama, that which is which the people dislike, now which the people find disgusting, then this is not allowed. And when we say people, it's also another very important rule. When you say people like al-urf, you're talking about the average person. The average person. Because you may have people on the fringes of society say, okay, I'll eat anything. And fi'lan, they'll eat anything. So it's not a matter which is subjective. No, it's a matter which is objective. And it takes into the opinion, it takes into consideration the average person. Naam. So that which is repulsive, such as pests, mice, and the like, except for the jabawa. The jabawa is a smaller animal. It looks like similar to a rabbit. It's like in between a mouse and a rabbit. Okay, you find it in desertous areas. And the dub lizard, even to now they eat it in Al-Madinah. Now this is because the Messenger of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam saw it consumed at his table, and when asked if it was haram, he said no. This is an exception. The ulama say these are exceptions. Why? Because you have the general rule that which is mustakhbath, that which is disliked, it's frowned upon, it's looked at as something disgusting, you're not allowed to eat it. But these are exceptions. Why? Because the Prophet ﷺ seen people eating and didn't say it's haram. Who was a Sahabi that ate the dab? Khalid ibn Walid radiallahu anhu. Khalid ibn Walid radiallahu anhu, he was eating the dab. Okay? Which is very similar to, I forgot the name now. They're like the big lizards, not blue tongue. Don't say blue tongue. Yeah, like a goanna. Naam. Like the bigger lizards. Khalid ibn Walid radiallahu anhu, his people would eat it. And the Prophet ﷺ was looking back, he wouldn't put his hand. Yani, he wouldn't go and eat from it. And that's why he asked, he said, Rasulullah, is it haram? And the Prophet said, no, but it's not something that my people eat. Yani. My people here, meaning my tribe, it's not what we're used to. Okay, it's not what we're used to. And that's where part of where the other opinion comes in. That the Prophet ﷺ, he didn't eat it, but Khalid ibn Walid ate it, and it wasn't something looked down upon from his people. Okay, it wasn't something looked down upon by his people, but in order to give this guideline, that's what the ulama say, in general, that which at the time of the Prophet ﷺ was looked down upon, and there's no exception to the rule, then we keep it all haram, except that which the exception came in, and you have this jabawa, and the dab lizard. I don't know if any of you have seen in Al-Madinah, if you go to the outskirts, sometimes you see them, it's funny walking them on a leash. Very rare, but there's people that have had them as pets, and there's people that cook it. Okay, very rare, but it still is for some people. وَمَا عَدَى هَذَا مُبَاح. Aside from these animals, then all others are permissible to consume. In general, in Australia, alhamdulillah, do we have anything that is commonly eaten that is haram from these strange exceptions? Besides pig, there isn't anything really that you're going to come across that is haram to consume as a meat that I can think of off the top of my head. But if you go to other countries, okay, like some Asian countries where they eat, for example, cat or dog, are they allowed to be eaten? No. Why? What category do they fall under? The fangs, good, okay. The fanged predatory animals. Jayid. The exception for the cat is in the najasa of its saliva. This is it's allowed, you're allowed to be around it because it's pure in that regard. Because from minna tawafina alaykum. Okay, wa tawafat. That which is constantly surrounding you, so it's impossible for you to avoid it. But in terms of its meat, its meat is najas. Okay, we're not allowed to eat its meat or anything of that. Like even if you're allowed to keep it, doesn't mean that you're allowed to eat it. It doesn't mention it here, but we have also the locusts, okay, from the insects. This is also an exception that the Prophet ﷺ allowed. Al-Jarad. The locusts, these are allowed to be eaten also because of the hadith of the Prophet ﷺ that it is allowed. The locusts, they look similar to like a grasshopper, but they're big. Naam. And if sometimes in some seasons you go to Al-Madinah and there'll be heaps of them in Al-Madinah. Locusts usually they'll come and they'll fall on a field like of crops, and within like a few minutes they'll destroy the whole crops. Now everything in that field they'll eat it all and they'll move on. It looks like a big black cloud coming. It will land on the crops, eat everything and move on. Now these are allowed to be eaten also. Okay, the insects that don't need to be slaughtered. Just because halal does not mean you have to eat it. No. Again, it's the Prophet ﷺ with the dab. He didn't say it's haram, but he didn't eat it. It's not something that you eat. No problem, don't eat it. But for those that do, they say it's very high in protein, Allahu Alam, and it's crunchy and it's nice. I don't know. I haven't tried it. طيب ويباح أكل الخيل والضبع لأن النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم أذن في لحوم الخيل وسمى الضبع صيدا. It's also permissible to eat the flesh of horses and hyenas. Horses, no problem. Okay, horses, no problem because they don't fall under any of the other rules. Okay, they don't fall under any of the other exceptions. You have al-humur al-ahliya, the donkeys, that's the closest thing to it. But al-humur al-wahshiya, the zebras, they're allowed to be eaten, they're no problem. Okay, so there's nothing to say or to even a category for them to fall under in which the horses become haram. But it's mentioned specifically, as some people may have that misconception, since the Prophet ﷺ permitted the consumption of horse meat and also hyenas. Hyenas, this is an exception. Why? Because it falls under one of the categories that's normally haram, which is also the fanged predatory animals. So the hyenas have that exception. The Prophet ﷺ called it sayd. Sayd, Islamically speaking, is that which you hunt for game, but that you eat. Okay, that which you go hunting for, but you eat it. Okay, like a gazelle, a deer. Okay, you're gonna go and you're gonna hunt it and you're gonna eat it. The Prophet ﷺ called it a sayd, meaning it's allowed to be eaten. Other ulama, I don't know which, I can't remember which of them are they specifically, but some other ulama, they said no. The ahadith for it, they don't clearly state that it's halal and it falls under the general category of it not being halal. Again, are you guys going to eat a hyena anytime soon? Probably not, but if you're under the Hanbali madhab and you come across a hyena burger in your life, it's allowed to be eaten. Tayyib. This is the rest of the chapter of food. Again, very summarized in this matter. If there's any questions from anything which we didn't answer last week or anything on these points, inshallah Azza wa Jal, we'll take them and we'll continue thereafter. Benjamin, on topic, yeah?
You can do the talk. Sorry. He had his hand up as well.
Benjamin, ask your question.
I like eating prawns.
Yeah. Sahtan.
Good to eat it?
Yeah, no problem. Any information, no problem, inshallah.
Alright, we'll share
The Chinese deer, it's got fangs, all right, but it doesn't eat meat.
No, that's fine.
That's all.
It's not predatory then.
But it's got fangs.
Yeah, but it's a predatory fanged animal. So these are animals that attack other animals. One thing that's actually not mentioned here, and someone actually mentioned that last week. This is what I wanted to mention. The kangaroo is not a problem. The animals that eat other animals, okay, or the carcasses like the vultures, they're not allowed to eat. What about the animals that eat the najasat of other animals? Because you have this very common, okay, like chickens, okay, chickens, Number one, sometimes they develop, I'm not sure why, but they develop a problem where they start to eat the feces of other animals or their own feces. Okay? This is with chickens, and also in the feed that they have, that they feed the chickens with. In some of the pellets, sometimes they crush, I don't know why, but they crush baby chicks, okay? And it's in the feed. So there's like blood and stuff in the feed. What happens with these things? These are called al-jallala. The jallala is the animal that has this impurity that it eats. It should be left. It should be left if you know. If you don't know, don't open up the door of waswas. If you know that this animal eats the impurities of the other animals, then you leave it in a place that's clean, and you only put for it clean food. You only put for it clean food, and you wait a few days. The ulama say 3 days. Okay, but if you can leave it longer for more reasons, then no issue, inshallah. But 3 days, the ulama specifically say, as came from the companions radhiyallahu anhum, and then you can eat it thereafter, inshallah. Okay, but you need to try and get rid of that impurity as much as you can. In terms of the food that you go to eat, if someone invites you, or if a restaurant says it's halal. This is also another point that we wanted to mention. If a Muslim invites you for food, because we said all meat is haram until proven halal. You need to make sure that it's halal. But what's the level of proof that we're talking about here? The level of proof is if a Muslim tells you that meat is halal, what do you do? What's your response? You eat or you don't eat? Yeah, you're not allowed to ask. It's hadith from Prophet ﷺ. You're not allowed to ask if it's halal. The only time you don't eat the meat of a Muslim is when you are 100% sure that it's haram. Okay? Or an extremely high chance it's haram. For example, a person, you know that there's no halal butcher anywhere in their city. And you know for a fact that because there's no halal butcher in their city, they buy their meat from a haram butcher. You know 100%, no questions asked. You are in it, they told you. As you speak to them on the phone, they told you. There's no halal butcher, I just buy from my local butcher. So you know that his meat's not halal. So when you get there, can you make sure? Yes. Why? Because you know with certainty or almost certainty that the meat's not going to be halal. As for a Muslim, even if they're an average Muslim, average, not someone very far away that doesn't care, average Muslim, you know that generally speaking they're only going to buy halal meat. They put you food, then you eat. Okay? And same thing with anything else that they put you, you eat. Unless you know for certain that it's not allowed. Like if you, for example, don't eat gelatin, and you know 100% this particular food it has gelatin in it. Khalas, avoid it, don't eat it. Now, but something that you're not sure of, then you eat. When it comes to restaurants, if you trust that because sometimes they're not Muslims, if you trust that they're telling you that it's halal, and they understand the process of halal, not just the slaughtering, most of the wholesalers, they're going to be selling halal meat, but the process of delivery, the process of storage, the process of cooking, you need to make sure that that's halal. Then eat, no issue. But if you don't know, because if you get to most of the stores, their meat on the packaging says halal. Their boxes say halal. But does that mean that the way that they store it and cook it is halal? No. Okay, they might cook it on the same hot plate as bacon. Okay, or they may fry it in the same oil as non-halal meat. Okay, or they may cross-contaminate, where they're putting some food from here and then they'll grab bacon and then they'll grab chicken and the like. So the cross-contamination can happen. So it may be that the meat is halal, but the process is haram. So you need to truly believe that number one, the meat is halal, and two, the process is halal. If you don't know, then avoid. Questions, boys?
Sure.
Then call out. I'll cover out, inshallah.
How about the chickens, sometimes the machine slaughter and non-slaughter?
Machine slaughter chicken's fine. Machine slaughter chicken is fine.
Not of the lamb.
Even that is fine, but it's rarer to have. But because there's so much chicken production, that's why chicken hen slaughter is so much more common. But the other ones, even if they've done it by machine, no problem.
Beef gelatin?
Beef gelatin needs to be halal. If the beef gelatin is halal, then it's halal. But if it just says beef gelatin and you're not sure is it halal or not, don't eat until you make sure.
The machine slaughtering, how does that work? Yani,
They have a Muslim at the beginning before the machine is pressed. They say Bismillah. The person says Bismillah and then it slaughters. And then if there's a stoppage, usually they'll say Bismillah again and continue after.
that's fine, yeah?
And if usually they have supervisors, because sometimes the cut might not be clean. Maybe it's instead of cutting the neck, it cut the head. So they'll take that off the line and they put it aside. It becomes like dog food and the like. So it doesn't get to the halal. So they have a process for it.
Sure. I don't have a halal butcher in where I live, but I come here to Abdul's butchery once a week. But just insane, like Coles in Dapto, they're saying that they got halal meat, same as the Woolies, sausages and.
You know when I say you don't have it in your city, I'm talking about like you live in the middle of Australia.
Shit, I don't
Not that you have to drive 7.5 minutes to your local butchery. Ben, the way you made it sound was like this guy lives in Aladala or something. If even the big grocery stores, usually they're more strict on it as FYI. Okay, especially the packaged stuff that's already come from the butcher, from the wholesaler in the halal section. They eat you, inshallah. We get from. Any other questions, boys? No question? No.
I don't know if you asked this last week, but what about if they cook the food with alcohol, but it doesn't, like it's not
You got to watch the lesson from last week. For the sisters, I believe that the QR code is working. The QR code that is on the wall, if there are any questions, you should be able to, inshallah, ask through there. الجراد نعم نحن كله هو استثناء عن من الحشرات الحشرات لا مثل الصرصور العنكبوت لا الصرصور ليس بنجس الحشرات ليست نجسة ليست نجسة You just خربت for the whole of Wollongong. I want the opinion that unless it says halal, then eat. The opinion that all, here we go. Thank you very much, Majah. It's good for the recording anyway, to be honest. The opinion that all meat in Australia is halal is a very weak opinion. Straight up. With all due respect to the mashaykh that say it. Because there is a difference between saying Christian country, you don't know who's in the abattoirs, and so you take it like if it was a Muslim country, that it's halal. But number one, it's not a Christian country. The majority of the inhabitants of Australia are not Christian. It's number one. Nor are the laws that are dictating how the country runs, and nor are they Christian. It's a clearly secular, atheistic country from that regard. Number three, we know for a fact that the people that work at the abattoirs, they're not Muslim, Christian or Jew. We know that for a fact. A lot of the ones that work in the abattoirs, they're Hindus, they're Sikhs, they're atheists, they're people with no religion, they're people with like really funky religions from a lot of the refugees that come to Australia, or the ones that come new to Australia and they go get work out there. They're not all Muslims. We know that for a fact. So how can, if they're telling you it's not halal, how can you take it as halal? That's on top of the killing of the animals before it's slaughtered. When it comes to the halal, there's like gassing and there's electrocuting the animal. This is like a humane standard where it doesn't feel anything, but it's still alive. But that, if you turn it up just a little bit, the animal is actually dead before you go and slice its neck. So even the process, is not slaughtered. So you need, in order for something to be halal, it needs to be from a person, and we'll get to it inshallah next week. It needs to be from a person who is Muslim, Christian or Jew, and it needs to be slaughtered. Okay, the matter of Bismillah is a different matter. Okay, for the Muslim it has to be, for the other ones it's difference of opinion. But if you know they're not Muslim, Christian or Jew, and you know it's not slaughtered properly, then how can you say it's halal? The argument is Christian country, it's not Christian country, you know that for a fact. Any other questions, Shabab? Don't ever say last question. Because you said that, I'm not going to give it to you. Any other questions from here? Idris.
If you're gonna eat the kangaroo, like, why would you eat it? Because if you try to go slaughter it, you're gonna come up to it, it's gonna give you bang cramp.
Yeah. So you don't want to kill an Aussie icon because your mum's Australian. If you want to kill a kangaroo, what you do is you shoot it first. And we're going to get to that in the hunting topic. You say Bismillah, you aim and you shoot. But you got to be careful when you eat kangaroo. Why? Because a lot of them have worms in them. Did you know that? And so if you eat it, you get worms in your stomach, and it's very bad. And their meat is a bit tough. But if you put it with like other, like beef fat, it becomes nice. تفضل بن يمين.
I love meat pies and sausage rolls.
لا إله إلا الله.
But it's the only Australian part of me. Do you know anyone who makes it?
That's right.
When you go to Lebanese bakery,
You know Garlo's? You know Garlo's pies? I'm pretty sure Garlo's pies are halal.
yeah, legit.
Vili's pies, I'm pretty sure that they've been halal for years. There's a lot. There's actually a lot that are halal.
I didn't know.
Yeah.
7-Eleven.
Yeah, that's right. 7-Eleven have the whole line as well. Sometimes I feel that you actually do live in Allah Dala. طيب شباب, inshallah Azza wa Jal, we'll stop here for the topic. If there's any general questions, feel free to ask general questions. If not, then we'll stop and we'll continue next week, inshallah.